Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. My name is Matthew. I hope that you're doing well. In today's video, we are going to rank the top 11 characters from Heartstopper. Why 11? Well, one for good luck, and if I'm being completely honest, there was just one character I really didn't want to leave off in regards to this discussion. But let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start with a character that I wanted to talk about, but unfortunately I just can't place any higher than 10 in this list. So Ben is at 11 here, and for obvious reasons, he did not treat Charlie very kindly. In fact, when Charlie was outed in school and it was obvious that he was openly gay now at that point, not by his choice, Ben instantly gravitated towards him because Ben was having his own sexuality struggles and it was probably easier to actually go towards Charlie, someone who he already knew was already out, and he did not have to worry about, let's say, risking him being exposed for his own feelings. The unfortunate thing here is that this relationship allowed Ben to really be abusive towards Charlie. He had the upper hand in regards to, Charlie already having that trauma from how he was outed in the school. And Ben hasn't been very kind or was not very kind to Charlie as well. Even after they separated, and Charlie actually stood up for himself and said, you know what, we need to break up because Ben was just using him. Charlie asked Ben, like, hey, do you want to cover for my house? And he was like, why? And there's even that comment where, Charlie's wearing a coat and he was like, lame. And after they broke up, Ben kind of doubled down on beating up Charlie and getting into his head, saying, who could love you? And you got to see that Charlie was already struggling in regards to his own mental health. So Ben is on the last of my list, but I wanted to also put him here because in some capacity, I do feel bad for Ben. And the reasons for that is because one, he did reveal in season 3 when he was trying to apologize for Charlie and make amends, which I do not blame Charlie for not accepting the apology, but it was something huge that he wanted to, and finally admitted to himself that he wanted to have what Nick and Charlie had. And he did confess in that moment that, his parents would not accept him. So I don't know much about that relationship with his parents. I'm only speculating that he probably has parents like Darcy who are not very accepting and have probably made it very clear to Ben about how they feel. Now, did get to see a little preview of Ben and the parent teacher conference they were kind of having. The other parents were there. He felt very proud of all the progress that he was getting in the rave reviews from the teachers. But I felt bad because when Ben was apologizing at the school where Elle was attending for her art, obviously Charlie turned him away and they walked away. And then you saw this rainbow reaching out to Ben to say, hey, welcome, this is a safe place. And unfortunately, Ben turned his back on that. Um, I don't think you could see it, obviously, but that symbolized that Ben, unfortunately, probably was going to continue down the path of continuing this abuse and maybe taking advantage of another person because he can't deal with coming out. So I think that, to tell you the truth, if they were to do a spin off series, I actually would be interested to see someone like Ben and what happens. Maybe another character, actually makes Ben a better person. Maybe someone that he can have as like Nick and Charlie have in that relationship. Or maybe Ben is going to actually go through some difficult times and have someone who takes advantage of him just like he did to Charlie. So, unfortunately, yeah, Ben's going to be at 11 here. So, after this, obviously, it gets a little harder, but I think that I am going to place Imogen at number 10. And the reason for that, I have to be honest, is that early in the season, you saw when she was interested in Nick, she went up to Tara, Darcy, and Elle at the school after there was rumors and the word was spreading that Tara kissed a girl, not knowing it was Darcy, and she was like, "Oh, look, this is my time to actually see what's going on here because I like Nick and we're going to be an item." And the way that she kind of went up to the table and kind of interrupted and was like, "Hey, Tara, I heard 1 minute that you're, you know, into Nick, and then you're kissing a girl." And she was like, Darcy's like, "I'm that girl." And she was like, "Oh, sorry." She goes, "Well, Ben and I, or Nick and I, are an item." So I was like, the way she went about it, I was like, obviously, if there's another girl sitting at the table at school, then there's a possibility that you're going to want to be a little more tactful. So there was that. And I think that in some capacity with her and Sahar, that she could be a little bit more sensitive. When she saw Sahar be upset after they had kissed at the party and walk off because Imogen was laughing, she could have gone after her. She could have recognized, you know what, I did hurt her feelings. Now, there are a few moments where I guess, Imogen is, coming to the better side. She's in the friends group. She really enjoys the other individuals' company, but we really didn't get to see too much of her really getting beyond where she was as a character and growing. So that's why I have to put her here. Now, let me see. I think I'm actually going to put Sahar at number 9. Now, the reason I'm going to put her here is because, one, I don't get to see much of her in the show. Now, I thought that when she said to Imogen, like, you keep on playing with me, and the whole reason why I became discovered I was bi was because of you. Now, how the heck do you expect someone else to know that unless you specifically told them, right? You know, I think that some people think that other people can read their mind. And I think in that scene, like, Sahar was like, you know, obviously, and you've been playing with me. Another girl, Imogen was like, I didn't know that. What? you know? So I was thinking, Sahar, you can't just assume that other people know that they're the ones that turned you by. I'm really bad at actually when people are flirting with me, even know, even knowing that they're flirting with me. I'll be like, oh, they're just being friendly, and then later they go, I liked you for a while, and you didn't get any hints. I was like, no, I thought you were just being nice. So I I could understand Imogen in that area going like, what are you talking about? So now if it was after they had kissed and that, I'll be like, well, Imogen, you should know that this girl liked you, and if you haven't seen her with anybody else, you should be starting to get some clues. So, in some capacity, I could understand Sahar because it seems like Imogen, it was pretty obvious that Tara, if she was rumored to kiss a girl, you don't go up to her at the school and say, like, I heard you were into Nick, and then all of a sudden you're kissing the girl. So, there's that. So, there was one area that I want to say that I did think that Sahar was pretty good at when Nick, or Isaac, I should say, when Isaac was upset with Tao because they had the little squabble at the zoo, and they weren't doing too good job, the other friends, of cheering up Isaac. And Imogen was talking about like her own experience of like, oh, all these other boys that dated, and I wasn't really sure what was going on. And then Sahar goes to Imogen. She goes, we're trying to cheer up Nick here, So I thought that was nice. But beyond that, again, there's not much that I know about Sahar. So let me see. Oh my gosh. Okay, I am going to put the next character at number 8, and that is going to be Darcy. Now, the reason why I'm putting Darcy at 8 here is because I did get to see that, unfortunately, she's not very tactful with her meddling. Uh, when Elle expresses that or it's obvious that she likes Tao, they set up this kind of blind date, and she is a little bit meddling in that aspect. And Elle gets upset that Darcy has crossed some lines, right? In that. Now, Darcy also is very abrupt when before Nick is even out and Charlie and him are kind of exploring like their relationship before they're even officially dating or even identifying as dating. She goes, "So I heard, you know, that you and Nick may have a thing." And he was like, "What? No." And you would think that, you know, Charlie expressing how uncomfortable he is with that question, that Darcy would kind of read on that and kind of, you know, step back a little bit and kind of adjust for Charlie's uncomfortability. So Darcy's just a little bit still very aggressive in the way that she's dealing with that situation. So I think that there's sometimes that, you know, Darcy in that aspect can unfortunately have some little sloppiness when she's trying to supposedly do good things. And I think that maybe her intentions are good, but she has to read the room. Now, I will say this. Darcy is a support person for Tara. Like she did express that she was trying to be strong for Tara, be that strong person, despite her really going through something difficult in her own home with her mother not accepting her and feeling that she had to be restricting and hiding who she was. So, in that capacity, you know, Darcy, I could see, is a strong person, right? And it feels bad. I feel bad for her in the sense that she didn't have anyone to talk to. She was dealing with this pain of her family not being accepting all alone. And Tara is a very open person. So I understand it seems that Darcy wanted to protect her and did care about her feelings. So there's that. Now, there is the area where, you know, Tara says to Darcy, she goes, "I love you." And then you could see Darcy's reaction. She's not sure how to react. And to see, you know, Tara obviously be uncomfortable, Darcy doesn't even pick up on that and goes, "Oh, okay," and just moves on. And then when Tara tries to, you know, bring it up again, Darcy's kind of avoiding and going, "What are you talking about?" So yeah, I think that'll be a little frustrating in a relationship, to be honest. You're like, "Oh, so remember that thing we were talking? What are you talking about? You mean, oh, you mean this?" And you're like, "No, I don't mean that." So yeah, that's why I'm putting Darcy there. All right, I think I'm going to put Isaac at number 7. Now, I will say this about Isaac. He is the only person who recognizes the early warning signs with Charlie when he is kind of avoiding, you know, the texting and responding to the groups and hanging out with the other friends. And I think even when Charlie tells him that everything's okay, he's like, "Are you sure?" You know, so you could tell definitely that Isaac is a good friend. Now, the only area that I have to say, like, I kind of step back on with Isaac is that, unfortunately, lots of times, even when he's hanging out with his friends, he's just reading a book. And I can understand that in the sense of, like, me kind of retracting and feeling like maybe the third wheel. But that prevents me from actually getting to see the other side of Isaac. So, for that reason, I put him here because I'm not really sure in regards to, you know, what's going on as far as the other aspects. There is something else I have to say that kind of was interesting with Isaac. So when they're recording this video, Tao's doing this video of everyone kind of talking to Charlie while he's getting help in a facility. Isaac tells Charlie, he goes, "You know, I'm kind of mad at you because I asked you if everything was okay and you lied to me. Maybe not the right time to deal with it when you're having a video. It's like, let's save that for maybe later after we get through this, not while he's recovering and struggling, you know?" So I thought that that maybe could have been a little more tactful. You know, of course he's younger, you know, they're all young, but that's why I put him over here. So this is where it gets kind of hard, but I think that I'm going to put Tori at number 5. Now, why am I putting Tori here? So Tori cares a lot about Charlie, right? And you could tell she has a deep caring for him. And her capacity outside of that, right, to show caring, you know, beyond Charlie and even for herself, you don't get to see much of that. Like, she makes a comment to Charlie. She's like, I actually really like Nick. Your other friends I don't like. And she's missing something because Charlie's other friends really do care about him. They really do support him, and they're not really a bad influence. If anything, I think they build up Charlie. They get him out and hopefully dealing with his kind of insecurities. So, in that capacity with Tori, that's where I have some kind of disagreements. I also think that she's very hard on Nick. You know, Charlie and Nick go to this bonfire after they finish it, after Nick finishes his exams, and Tori says, "You make sure to, watch Charlie," and Nick goes, "I promise." Unfortunately, they get separated. Not to Nick's fault. Is a huge crowd, and he's wanting to come out to his friends at this bonfire, and then he's looking for Charlie after they get separated. Nick runs into Tori in the tent when he's looking for Charlie, and she goes, "You're not very good at keeping your promises, are you?" And you could tell, I mean, Nick is trying, he's struggling. They got separated. He's looking for him. So that's where I thought, like, in that capacity, I was like, okay, you're being a little tough on Nick. You could tell this guy is actually really trying. So that's where I put her here. I can definitely tell she cares about Charlie, and she's starting to explore, her own kind of romantic relationship, even though she seems a little bit kind of reluctant because she's like, I'm kind of dead inside. The only person I really can recognize that I have feelings for as far as caring for them is Charlie, my brother. So that's why over here she is at number 5. All right. All right. So I'm going to put Elle at number 4. So I think that Elle is a good friend, in the sense that when Charlie and Nick kind of announced at this triple date that Elle felt like she was kind of bamboozled and tricked into, that they're going out, Elle is expressing, extreme happiness for Charlie. And to see another friend express happiness when someone else achieves something, or like a relationship or something other than that, it's really refreshing and nice to see friends supporting each other. And Elle is also a person who has struggled a lot through her own personal issues of being trans and going to Truman, which was primarily lots of boys going there in that school. And she is also a person who's very creative. And you could tell how much she cares about her friends group because when she has her art that she does, she's drawing about Charlie. She's drawing about Tao, Charlie, and Isaac and them being together. And even her capacity to, let's say, take on new friends and still be there for her other friends, even when she's going to a different school, and keeping those relationships together, speaks volumes about her because that's a lot of work. When you even going to a different school, if it's not even that far, it takes effort to actually be in contact with other individuals and maintaining that relationship when you are not seeing each other every day. So I do recognize that. I'm really bad at keeping my friendships. I'm going to tell you this. When a friend cancels a plan, not that I don't like hanging out with them, but I love canceled plans. I'm like, yes! Oh my gosh, I get to relax. And I'm a bad friend, okay? I admit it. But I could recognize where she's the kind of person that I would like to be in the sense of reaching out to friends and actually taking the time to hang out, even despite, the barriers of work and maybe distance. All right, so I'm going to put at number 3, I'm going to put Tao. And I realized as kind of thinking about Tao here that Tao is a really actually caring person. I think that he could be a little bit kind of forthcoming and blunt with his feelings. But then when you discover the reason behind that is that Tao lost his father and is very afraid of losing other people in his life, such as his friends who he deeply cares about. So you see that and you go, wow, this is somebody that actually cares. So I've been in relationships and friendships where you feel a little bit smothered. But if I had somebody like Tao and I knew where they were coming from, I'm like, you know what? Let's take a step back. This person really cares about you. So when he's upset, about Charlie and dating Nick, he's trying to be protective. And when Elle is going to another school and then potentially then decides to go to the art school, he gets worried and unfortunately kind of creates a little bit hiccups in the relationship. But there's really good sides of Tao as well when they go to the Paris trip. Charlie gets the hickey from Nick, and the, Tao is hugging Charlie, and Charlie goes, "Oh my gosh, everyone's gonna think that you're the person that gave me the hickey." And he was like, "You know what? It's okay. It could be a distraction. I'm okay with that." So, and he's doing it to protect his friend. So you can see that Tao is a very loyal friend. At times, yes, he could be a little bit overbearing with his feelings, and he gets in that fight with Isaac when Isaac is feeling the same way that Tao did, uh, about the friendships kind of drifting apart and maybe being a third wheel. So Isaac was feeling that way, and then Tao was feeling that way about Charlie and Nick dating. So you know, I think Tao's heart is in the right place, and what he does for Elle, as far as always kind of expressing his love and also being very patient with Elle in regards to her own uncomfortability with maybe them dating and kissing and the body image issues that she has. And I have to say that he's very patient, and I think anyone could have someone like Tao and be lucky to have that person in their life. All right, so this is where it gets a little difficult, and I am going to place Charlie at number 6. Now, there's a few reasons for that, and I'm first going to go where I think that Charlie is a good friend and person, right? So I'm sorry, by the way, if you have OCD with like going, Matthew, those shapes are not uniform. This is giving me OCD. But Charlie is, you know, doesn't get many opportunities to show how good of a person he is. And I've read the first book, and it's interesting how in the book it says that Charlie, when he joins the rugby team, really easily makes friends with the other players. There's a comment that, oh my gosh, I could see why he's popular, not only because of what happened to him, but because he is someone who you can easily like. And that's not how that plays out in the show, right? It's a little bit more awkward, kind of more realistic in regards to the trauma that Charlie has experienced. But I have to say, like, there's scenes where Charlie has some growing to do. And I think it's because of the trauma, not his fault, right? He is very, he's going through his struggles, and, it's, he's not very nice to Nick at times in third season when he's going through struggles, swearing at him and that. And that's part of his own mental health issues that he's going through. So I can't completely fault him. But I also think that there's a scene where they are getting the results of the testing that Nick took, Elle took, Tori, and other individuals such as Darcy, right? And even Tara. And they're walking out afterwards of getting the results, and the other characters say, you know what? To Isaac, when he expressed, like, hey, I thought we were going to go to this place. This is the only reason I came, this restaurant. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So the only two individuals are left are Charlie and Isaac. And Charlie kind of goes, and I don't, it really basically expressing he didn't want to like go to the restaurant with Isaac. And yes, that has to do probably with his food insecurities that he has, as far as the food struggles that Charlie has. So I understand that. But then you also see with Charlie, his listen, I understand that his mom could be overbearing. You get that from Tori and Charlie. But when the mother comes into the room, right, and she says, hey, Charlie, do you think you could pick up a little bit here? And he's like, eh. Like really kind of ignores her, and then gets the call from Nick, and it disconnects. And the mother was like, hey, you didn't clean, you know? And then Charlie gets upset and storms off. I was just thinking in that moment, I was like, oh, as a son, as far as like listening and doing things around the house, a little bit difficult here. So I can't completely blame the bad relationship, the struggle between him and his mom completely on the mom, just because Charlie kind of gets into like this tunnel vision with Nick. And I think it does hurt, the friend group that he is just solely like kind of devoted to Nick, that he makes no time for other people. This also presents an issue because you don't get to see Charlie really comfort other individuals, and really get to show like the other characters have opportunities to reach out and express happiness for other individuals. Now, there are a few scenes where that does happen. I think that Charlie, as far as a character, you get to see how forgiving he is. Uh, and this is primarily displayed when Tao confesses to Charlie that he says, I'm the whole reason why you got outed in school, because someone overheard me talking to Isaac about it, and then you went through this trauma, so I'm the whole reason for all your struggles. And Charlie goes, that wasn't your fault. So it shows that large kind of positive for Charlie, that he's a very forgiving person. Tao also gives a clue that Charlie kind of blames himself a lot, and takes a lot of responsibility unnecessarily so, in regards to, him not being good enough for other people or being a burden on other people. And I can relate to that in that regard. But I think what's on display here is how that mentality also can lead to you not being a good friend in certain areas, right? That you're that constant negativity and making yourself kind of be portrayed like you're a burden actually contributes towards you being, harder on your friends and adding weight to their shoulders, because then they're constantly have to pick you up, every time, because, you're feeling really insecure. So there we go there. I'm not trying to criticize Charlie. I'm just saying, like, there's definitely areas where, unfortunately, the character doesn't get to really display, unfortunately, the friendship qualities. That's why he's ranked at number 6 here. So this is where it gets interesting. I am going to probably controversially put Nick at number 2. So Nick is a really good boyfriend. I will say that, right? Like, I think that Nick has really great emotional intelligence. Let me resize this. Because, one, I think that he knows how to delicately handle the struggles that Charlie's going with. Even when Charlie is being aggressive and mean to him, he handles it very well. And I have to say that also, Nick also reaches out to Charlie's friend. He goes up to Tao, he tries to kind of mend the relationships there. He's a really good person. And even when Charlie's going through the struggles with the eating struggles that he has, he talks to his, I think, aunt, and he's writing down things and he's trying to learn about the struggles that Charlie is going through. And you could tell that Nick is also very empathetic. Like, he's always kind of aware when Charlie's upset and very keen on observing Charlie and how he's feeling. So I think that Nick, I can understand why people would really gravitate towards him, not only because, yes, King Carner is a handsome individual, but also because the character himself have such positive attributes, as far as being sensitive to another individual, being caring, really being affectionate and sharing of feelings. So I definitely think that Nick is deserving of this number 2 slot. Now, obviously, that leaves Tara, for me, at number 1. And the reason for that is because I think that Tara is very sophisticated in the way that she deals with things. For example, when Darcy is staying with her, because she's not going to be staying with her mother after, the fight that they had. And it's not really healthy for Darcy to be there as well, where you have a family member or mother or who does not accepting. And Darcy has her grandmother reaching out to her as a potential person who she can live with. And Tara does this thing of delicately kind of expressing, like, hey, I have my own needs for me as well to have space. And she tells Darcy this to say, hey, I really think that you should reach out to your grandmother. And Darcy goes, okay, I know where this is going. I accept it. Yeah, I'll do it. And that's a huge thing to really be able to express your own needs, but also be able to communicate that in a way that doesn't hurt another person's feelings. So I could see how she's really a huge support for Darcy emotionally as well, in that capacity of like, hey, not only can you be here because my family are accepting, but also guiding you to where you need to be to have your own space as well. I mean, they're young, so living together right now, probably not the best. So Tara's very astute in kind of having that conversation. I also think that Tara is a really good friend to Elle as well. Darcy kind of initiates kind of the um, setup for Tao and Elle at this triple date. And when Elle expresses that, she's upset with this, and you can see that Tara's really absorbing it and understanding and feels bad about what had transpired, right? She didn't want to make Elle upset. She didn't want to, barred her and force her into something that she didn't want to do. Now, Tara is also a huge support for Nick. One, when Charlie is going through his own personal struggles mentally, and that's taking a toll on Nick, Nick confides in Tara. And she basically says, without, prying, she doesn't go, like, tell me more. What's going on? I want to know the gossip. She actually just stops there and says, you're doing your best. She tries to support Nick without forcing him to do something that he's uncomfortable with. What's also interesting, Nick, the first person outside of Charlie that he comes out to, in the friends group and other people that he knows, is Tara. And yes, he tells Tara and Darcy, but you can definitely tell that the reason why he felt comfortable to do so was because of the relationship with Tara. And she's someone that basically you can be comfortable with. I mean, she told Nick that she was a lesbian. So I thought that was very good. And then later on in season 3, when Charlie is having the struggles of, going through his own mental health issues, she is there also making sure that Nick is taken care of in the sense of like talking to him and saying, how are you? Are you journaling? Believe me, it helps, to do that. So I think that that's really huge of her as well. And then you also have the interaction with her and Charlie. That they're kind of talking about the relationship, and she's talking about her own struggles there as well. And you could see that no matter kind of who maybe it is around them, that Tara is somebody who you can just talk to, that you can actually express your feelings with. I wish I had a friend like Tara. Every time I see her, I was like, oh, I just really like this character in the sense that I feel like her and Nick are the two individuals that have the most strongest emotional intelligence and really handle things with care and delicacy. Um, you know, they're going through all their own struggles. I mean, Tara's going through her anxiety of, going to school and all these expectations on her. And Nick's going through the struggles of really being there for Charlie and identifying who he is without Charlie, which is harder for him to do than it is maybe for Tara, right? So those are my top 11. So you got to see Tara at number 1, Nick at number 2, Tao at number 3, Elle at number 4, Tori at number 5, and yes, Charlie at number 6. Number 7 is Isaac. Number 8 is Darcy. Number 9 is Sahar. Number 10 is Imogen. And number 11 is Ben. Let me know what you think about my list. Where do you disagree? Are there some kind of traits where I indicated maybe they were negative and you think that they're positive? Or did I miss something that would change your ranking? I know that I've seen in comments that many individuals really hope that there is a season 4 because Tori, lots of you connect with her, and apparently in the show I just didn't get to see that, and now I'm reading the book, so hopefully not only Heartstopper books but other books as well, from the author, to hopefully get some more insight into Tori as well. So thank you for listening. If you like what you're seeing, hit like, subscribe, leave a comment, and thank you for watching. Bye. Oh my God! Yeah!